Jimmy Fallon has found himself in the middle of a storm of controversy following recent reports.
The ugly environment starts with Fallon, who would have erratic behavior.
He himself has so far decided not to comment on the shocking stories about a toxic work environment that he created on The Tonight Show.
I'm not shocked, but I didn't know it was to that extent.
But there have been plenty of other voices only too willing to talk about the real Jimmy.
Not one of them said it was a pleasant experience.
Here's what some of them had to say. Earlier this month, Rolling Stone talked to as many as 16 current and former employees at The Tonight Show. They all requested to be kept anonymous because they were scared of retaliation for exposing the truth. Honestly, that alone was pretty shocking to hear. Who would think that the culture at a late night program could make its staff feel so terrified? The workers made a range of claims about what Jimmy was like to work with, and what they revealed made The Tonight Show seem like a pretty crazy place to work. Some of them said that Jimmy would sometimes have angry outbursts almost at random. During his outbursts, he would direct mistreatment at his staff. Some of them were berated in front of all their colleagues. Others, however, said that Jimmy would leave them passive-aggressive little notes and emails about their work. He was accused of bullying and belittling his colleagues, as were some of the other Tonight Show bosses. As one ex-staffer put it, they all knew that their day was ruined if they saw Jimmy come in a bad mood. On those days, no one would joke around in the office or even stand around and talk to each other. Instead, they would have to get on with what they had to do, otherwise Jimmy might fly off the handle. The work culture reportedly became so horrible that some were overheard joking about wanting to take their own lives, and they would use the celebrity guest dressing room as what they called crying rooms. Around half of the people who spoke about Jimmy's behavior had the same idea of what the reason behind it was, and what they said was pretty wild. 8 of his former employees suggested that Jimmy's mood changed depending on whether or not he was hungover, and they hinted at multiple occasions when they noticed Jimmy coming into work with adult beverages on his breath. Although this sounded like an insane accusation coming from former staff, the story actually first came to light a long time ago. There have been rumors about Jimmy's struggles for years. In fact, back in 2016, he was allegedly warned that he needed to cut back on his drinking by his NBC superiors. Insiders claim that he was told this following several bizarre late-night accidents. A source told Page 6 that there were fears that Jimmy was out of control, and people were worried that something really serious might happen while he was out drinking. In fact, the source even said that executives were worried that Jimmy was going to split up with his wife over his drinking. Fortunately, however, they added that the couple patched things up. One of the accidents Jimmy had in 2015 happened when he tripped over a rug and nearly ripped off one of his fingers. A few months later, he allegedly tried to open medicine for his finger and chipped his tooth. The same year, he was said to have injured his hand while trying to open a bottle of some kind of adult beverage. In September 2016, more concerns were raised when he was seen alone at a bar in New York City at 3 a.m. Another source confirmed that Jimmy was a heavy drinker and revealed that the host believed that he needed to change his image. However, there have also been reports that he has cut back on his drinking since having a family. Despite that, the chaos going on at his workplace has not slowed down. Despite being a popular show, The Tonight Show has struggled to keep hold of key workers during Jimmy's time in charge. Since Jimmy took over from Jay Leno in 2014, an insane number of 8 showrunners have quit, which is a pretty unbelievable turnover compared to similar late night shows. One former worker told Rolling Stone that this was because nobody could say no to Jimmy. Everybody had to walk on eggshells, especially the showrunners. At least 4 of the ex-employees who talked to Rolling Stone stated that they had looked for professional help in therapy. Although Jimmy has not talked about the accusations publicly, there have been reports about how he has responded privately. Apparently, he apologized to his current staff after finding out about the Rolling Stone report. One employee told Variety that Jimmy had talked to them on Zoom to tell them how bad he felt about the article, and he admitted that he was embarrassed about it. But nothing he said suggested that he was surprised about anything that had emerged about him. After all, this wasn't the first time he had seen bad press about him or the show. In 2017, the reports about his drinking habits were so popular that he went public to defend himself. He talked to the New York Times about the rumors and flat out denied that he had a problem. He explained that he could never do a day-to-day job if he was drinking every night. His bosses have also reportedly come out to defend him. After renewing his contract a few years ago, the chairman of NBC told Page 6 that Jimmy was one one of their biggest assets. He said that the host was in a class by himself and that they were extremely proud of his success in ratings and social media awareness. The chairman also stated at that time that any suggestions that were concerns about Jimmy's behavior were false. After the most recent controversy, NBC again came out to release a statement, but this time things were a little different, and it sounded like Jimmy might not be as safe as he once was. An NBC spokesperson said that the network was incredibly proud of The Tonight Show. They went on to say that as any workplace, employees had raised issues and that these had been investigated and action had been taken. Obviously, NBC was trying to calm everything down and protect their show, but unlike before, Jimmy was never actually mentioned by name. Could this mean that NBC did not want to be seen to be defending the host personally? And could it mean that they are planning for a potential future without Jimmy? If this is the case, there seems to be plenty of people who would be okay with that. Despite Jimmy's success and popularity, some people have claimed that they stopped watching The Tonight Show because of Jimmy's scandals. One commenter went online to state that they stopped following Jimmy after the infamous situation with Horatio Sanz. In 2021, Horatio was accused of SA by a woman who claimed that he had groped her when she was underage. The following year, the accuser requested that 3 of Horatio's Saturday Night Live colleagues be added to the lawsuit. One of these was Jimmy. The accuser alleged that the other had enabled Horatio's behavior. This was enough for some viewers to completely change their mind about who Jimmy really was. The accusation that Jimmy was kind of pretending to be someone he's not has always been made by his critics. This has even made some people feel less empathy for his alleged struggle with drinking. An online discussion started after his appearance on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast. Many listeners thought the podcast got really awkward when Dax brought up the topic of drinking. Dax had become well known for being open with his own struggles with drinking, but when he talked about it with Jimmy, listeners thought things turned a little odd. Some people thought the problem was that Jimmy had never confirmed that he had a similar problem, but with so many people claiming that he did, this came across as kind of fake, which made a lot of people lose trust in how he presented himself on his show. So when the recent shocking accusations were made in Rolling Stone, the critics were totally ready to believe they were true. But what do you guys think? Do you think Jimmy really is this toxic? Let me know in the comments below.